From Cold War era missions to unethical operations done in the name of scientific advancement, it is no surprise that there are many discrete, classified, and disturbing operations that have been conducted by governments around the world. Today, we are diving into just 5 of them as we uncover the top 5 disturbing secret government missions concealed from the public. Number 5 is Operation Gladio. So starting our list is Operation Gladio. This operation was a clandestine Cold War era program established by NATO with the cooperation of several European governments and the United States. The central premise of Operation Gladio was to create a network of secret stay-behind armies throughout Europe. These armies, composed of armed civilians and coordinated by local military personnel, were trained and equipped to mount resistance in the event of a Soviet invasion. However, the role of these secret armies extended far beyond the conventional understanding of defensive operations. As time passed, evidence surfaced suggesting that elements within Gladio were involved in far more controversial activities. This included orchestrating attacks, political assassinations, and even attempts at staging coups. One of the most notorious incidents linked to Operation Gladio was the 1980 Bologna incident in Italy, where a bomb exploded at a railway station, claiming the lives of 85 people and injuring over 200 more. Investigations suggested that far-right groups associated with Gladio were behind this tragic event. These secret armies operated under a veil of utmost secrecy, with many European governments either unaware of their existence or denying any involvement. It wasn't until the 1990s, after the Cold War had ended, that the reality of Operation Gladio came to light. Parliamentary inquiries, particularly in Italy and Belgium, revealed the extent of these networks and their activities. The revelation of Operation Gladio shook the European public, raising critical questions about the extent of government-sanctioned covert operations during the Cold War. The existence of these armies highlighted the blurred lines between defending democracy and undermining it through undemocratic means. The uncovering of Operation Gladio remains one of the most startling examples of the complexities. The uncovering of Operation Gladio remains one of the most startling examples of the complexities and paradoxes of Cold War geopolitics. It's a story that encapsulates the fears and uncertainties of an era and the lengths governments went to prepare for a potential conflict that fortunately never materialized. Number 4, Operation Chaos. Operation Chaos is a shadowy chapter in the CIA's history. Initiated in the late 1960s amidst the social and political turmoil of the Vietnam War era, this covert program marked a significant deviation from the CIA's primary mandate of foreign intelligence. The backdrop of Operation Chaos was a period of intense domestic unrest in the United States, with anti-war demonstrations and civil rights movements reaching new heights. The government, particularly concerned about the involvement of foreign adversaries in these movements, sought to identify and neutralize any such influence. Under the guise of national security, the CIA launched Operation Chaos, which soon turned into an extensive domestic espionage program. This operation was a direct violation of the CIA's charter, which explicitly prohibits spying on American soil. The scale of this surveillance was vast. The CIA compiled dossiers on thousands of US citizens, tracking activists, student leaders, and other individuals involved in anti-war and civil rights movements. The agency went beyond mere observation. They infiltrated groups with agents and informants to gather inside information. One of the most controversial aspects of Operation Chaos was the breadth and depth of its surveillance techniques. The CIA employed methods such as wiretapping, reading mail, and even breaking into private residences, often without warrants or legal oversight. This extensive invasion of privacy was justified internally as necessary for national security. The operation also involved analyzing international communications to and from American citizens, looking for any signs of foreign influence. However, as the program evolved, it increasingly focused on purely domestic activities, straying far from its original mandate. The existence of Operation Chaos remained secret until the early 1970s, and when details of the program finally emerged, it sparked public outrage and led to significant scrutiny of the CIA's activities. The revelation contributed to a broader reassessment of intelligence practices in the United States, eventually leading to reforms intended to place stricter controls on domestic surveillance activities. Operation Chaos serves as a stark example of how fears of foreign influence can lead to significant overreach and violations of civil liberties. It's a reminder of the delicate balance between protecting national security and preserving the freedoms and rights that are foundational to democratic societies. Number 3, the Phoenix program. The Phoenix program is a covert chapter from the Vietnam War that continues to stir debate and controversy. Launched by the CIA in 1967, the Phoenix program was part of the broader counterinsurgency strategy during the Vietnam War. Its primary objective: to dismantle the Viet Cong's infrastructure in South Vietnam. This operation wasn't just about combat, it was about intelligence gathering. The program aimed to identify and neutralize the VC through a combination of infiltration, capture, interrogation, and targeted assassination. Teams were composed of US military personnel, CIA operatives, and South Vietnamese counterparts working together in what was termed provincial reconnaissance units. One of the most controversial aspects of the Phoenix program was its methodology. Reports of severe harm and even killings shadowed the program. Detainees often faced harsh interrogation tactics in an attempt to extract information. The line between combatant and civilian blurred, leading to accusations that many of those targeted were ordinary civilians and not VC operatives or sympathizers. The ethical implications of these tactics sparked a heated debate. Proponents argue that the program effectively weakened the VC's grip on rural areas of South Vietnam, citing the high number of VC members reportedly neutralized. Critics, however, point to the moral cost, the alleged violations of human rights, and the impacts on Vietnamese civilian populations. The Phoenix program's legacy is a complex one. It's often cited as a cautionary tale of how counterinsurgency efforts can lead to serious ethical breaches in the name of security. The exact effectiveness of the program remains a topic of debate among historians and military analysts. Some argue it played a key role in disrupting the VC's activities, while others contend it fueled anti-American sentiment and worsened the situation on the ground. Number 2, Operation Ajax. Operation Ajax is a covert operation that dramatically reshaped the Middle East political landscape. In 1953, the Central Intelligence Agency, more commonly known as the CIA, and a secretive alliance with British intelligence, executed a plan that would forever alter the course of Iran's history. The operation's roots lay in the growing tensions between Iran and Western powers, particularly over oil. The democratically elected Prime Minister of Iran, Mohammad Mossadegh, had taken a bold step by nationalizing the country's oil industry, previously controlled by British interests under the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. This move sent shockwaves through the global power corridors, as it not only threatened Western economic interests, but also set a precedent for other oil-rich nations. Fearing the spread of nationalization and potential Soviet influence in the region, the CIA and British intelligence engineered a complex and cunning plan. They sought to destabilize Mossadegh's government through a series of covert actions. These included propaganda campaigns, economic sanctions, and fostering discontent among military leaders and the Iranian clergy. The operation initially faced setbacks, including the failure of a first coup attempt, which only served to temporarily strengthen Mossadegh's position. However, the CIA and its allies did not relent. They redoubled their efforts, employing bribery, disinformation, and mobilizing street protests to create an atmosphere of chaos and instability. Finally, in a dramatic turn of events, a second coup attempt succeeded. Mossadegh was arrested and the Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, who had briefly fled the country, returned to power. The Shah's reinstatement marked the beginning of a pro-Western autocracy that lasted for more than 2 decades. But the success of Operation Ajax came at a cost. It sowed the seeds of deep resentment among the Iranian people towards the United States and the United Kingdom. The Shah's regime, increasingly authoritarian and disconnected from the populace, faced growing opposition, leading to the Islamic Revolution of 1979. This revolution not only overthrew the Shah, but also established a theocratic regime antagonistic to Western interests. Operation Ajax is often cited as a prime example of short-term strategic interests overriding moral and democratic principles with long-lasting repercussions. It serves as a stark reminder of the complexity and unintended consequences of foreign interventions in sovereign nations. And number 1, Project Sunshine. Rounding out our list today, we have Project Sunshine, a clandestine operation that remains less known but is shockingly disturbing. Initiated in the early 1950s amidst heightening nuclear fears, this US government project had a daunting objective: to analyze the impact of radioactive fallout on the human body. The context here is crucial. The world was just entering the nuclear age, with atomic bomb tests becoming more and more frequent. Scientists and governments were anxious about the long-term effects of nuclear fallout, especially strontium-90, a radioactive byproduct. Strontium-90 was particularly concerning due to its tendency to accumulate in bones and teeth, posing a significant risk to human health, especially the most vulnerable of our society. Project Sunshine sought to quantify these risks by analyzing human tissue for radioactive contamination. However, the methods employed were deeply unsettling. The project covertly acquired body parts from recently deceased individuals, and what's more alarming is that these procurements were often done without the consent or knowledge of the families of the deceased. Reports suggest that thousands of samples were collected from all over the world, including Australia and Europe, often under the guise of other medical research. The ethical implications of this project were staggering. The covert nature of the tissue collection and the lack of consent raised serious moral questions. It wasn't until decades later that the full extent of Project Sunshine was revealed, causing considerable public outcry and raising significant concerns about the extent to which governments might go in the name of national security and scientific research. Project Sunshine, while aimed at understanding a critical public health issue, crossed numerous ethical boundaries. Its legacy is a haunting reminder of the shadowy practices that can occur under the veil of government secrecy and scientific urgency.